Hey friends, I've been thinking, we all have our strengths, right? There are things I'm great at and things I'm definitely not great at. I can talk to anyone, anywhere, but ask me to add something to a website or an app. Yeah, that's where things get a little messy. Oops, I love speaking, I love sharing stories. But social media, all those hashtags, algorithms, trends, that's a jungle I still haven't mapped out. Now, coming up with ideas that bring people together, that's my sweet spot. But bookkeeping, let's just say numbers, and I have agreed to stay in separate corners. And you know what? That's okay, because someone out there is good at those things. And when we work together, that's when the magic happens. Community Pay It Forward has never been about one person. It's a program built by many to support even more. Every single one of us brings something special to the table. We all have talents that make us strong on our own. But imagine how powerful we become when we combine them. That's the heart of Community Pay It Forward. Your skills, my skills, our hearts, working side by side to make a real difference. So tell me, what are you good at? Let's discover it together. Visit communitypayitforward.us and join the movement.
Warning, the brown cloud is approaching. Some will try to outrun it. Others may not be so lucky. But don't worry, it's all part of the fun at the Chili Cook-Off for books and board games. Where the chili is hot, the flavors are bold. And Bear E has your back with the official Brown Cloud Preparedness Kit. Follow the plan, know your exits, and whatever you do, hold your breath, because this temporary pain is all for a great cause. Join us, laugh with us, survive the brown cloud, together at Key Largo Lounge in Greeley.
Join us November 8th at 11 a.m. for the 10th annual Chili Cook-Off for books and board games at our home field, Key Largo Lounge, where our small market team is making a huge statement. Scan the code for tickets and sponsorship information.
Into a real fight wasn't right. Where can she dream here? Took a hold of her life, left at night, stepping out of her fear. Bring me home. Out of
Hey everyone, how's it going? Zach Clayton, Community Pay It Forward, the Come Together Compass and Pack Podcasting Networks. Thank you very much for joining me. We've got a very, very, very packed show tonight, so I'm not going to be doing a whole lot of talking. The one thing I do want to make sure that everybody is very aware of are something that is become a terrible, terrible tragedy. I live in Colorado. No secret there. A huge portion of our state is on fire right now. Nothing new. It happens every summer. But this summer, it is a hell of a lot drier than it's been in the past. I've lived in Colorado since 91, and we have never had a winter that was as dry and as warm as this winter was. So, ergo, that's leading to a lot of these problems that we're having. We had 3 unfortunate passings due to these fires. And this affects us personally in my family because our nephew, Landon, is a firefighter. You all met him on February 22nd. In a terrible interview. The filming of it was awful, but we did it on a Thursday night when Adrienne was on her show as well. So the interview itself wasn't the greatest, but it was a fascinating interview. Just listening to him as somebody who was just getting started out in this brand new venture and career of his. Thankfully, right now, Landon is not on a fire. I'd imagine he's probably just about ready to be sent out, though, because they are spreading everywhere. But there were three fighters who ended up losing their lives this last, I believe it's been within the last week. And folks, those 3 fighters, none of them were from Colorado. They were all from other locations. They left their home to come to Colorado, to come to my state, and they lost their lives fighting a fire that, this is tragic. Beyond tragic. There were also 2 others that were injured. To those families, my heart is with you more than I can ever dictate, than I can more than I can express. And from our family, our extended family, the Community Pay It Forward family, to you and your family, please, if there's anything that we can do for you, for your family, please reach out to us and let us know. If anybody has any way to get this to them, and if there's anything that we can do for them, please feel free to reach out to me personally, because we are here for you. Your loved ones were here for us, and we would love to be there in any way that we can be there for you. Please make sure that before you light that firework this weekend, you remember those families. It's so dry right now. If you can celebrate without fireworks, please do. 22. Because it is. This is terrible. This is just terrible. Coming up today, we replay our show from last week with Aviva. And then one of my favorite things to do is introduce you to people who are understanding our commitment to helping others. We're about ready to introduce you to Philip Arbach of Arbach International, where he says this, and I love this. Oh geez, and now I'm going to mess it up. But somebody who can somebody who can dictate a different language is like a doctor, but an interpreter is like a surgeon. And he also wants to warn you that using AI to transcribe your documents and stuff is a way to get yourself into a lot of trouble, because yes, it's going to transcribe the document just as you say it. But that's the problem. It's going to transcribe it like you say it, not how their language is spoken. And what they mean by that is, and I've actually had this happen to me. I tried to transcribe a document from English to Spanish, and it did just that. But in the Spanish language, in all these languages, words are put in different places. And so it was very unreadable for people. And then you have the idioms and sayings that we have in English that just didn't make any sense. So please be looking for forward to that. I'm going to leave the scroll on the bottom of this today, and I apologize to Aviva, and I also apologize to Philip. But I'm going to leave this on the bottom of there because we need to make sure that if there's anybody who is injured by these fires, or anybody that is in need thanks to these fires, we want to be able to help them connect with people in any way possible. So we're going to leave the scroll going throughout this entire podcast. But first up, we're bringing in the Aviva Show. This is from last week. She is such a wonderful person, and if there's anything that we can do to help you, please connect with Aviva, because she is here for you. So first up, the Aviva Show. After that, we introduce you to Philip Arbach of Arbach International. We'll be back in a little bit. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Again, my name is Zach Clayton, Community Pay It Forward founder, president, also the founder of the Come Together Compass and Pact Podcasting Networks. By the way, right now, scanning that QR code can help us get the compass out. And folks, right now, the compass is like a brand new toy without batteries. If we had the batteries in this toy, your donation could put those batteries in this toy. We would have a chance to help so many of these people who are being devastated by this fire.
Today we get to welcome a leader who doesn't just build systems, he builds momentum, clarity, and confidence. Please help me celebrate Jordan Templeton Harris, founder and president of Fitzgerald Built, as the newest member of our community Pay It Forward giving family. He doesn't operate as a vendor, he operates as a force multiplier, a strategic partner who helps leaders. Whether an organization is growing, transforming, or trying to get unstuck, Jordan brings the operational intelligence and accountability that turn ideas into measurable outcomes. And now, he's chosen to stand with us, to make sure no one has to face a difficult moment alone. That's what makes this partnership special. That's what makes Jordan family. Please visit his profile, share his badge, and help us welcome him the way only this community can. Welcome to the family, Jordan. We're honored to walk this mission with you.
Every Friday, people across the country put on red for one reason: to honor the women and men who left the comfort of home so we can live freely. These shirts are not about politics. They are not about a war. They are not about religion. They are about gratitude. They are about respect. They are about remembering everyone deployed. When you purchase one, you help us launch the Come Together Compass, a program built to guide families and heroes to the support that they need. Wear your pride, wear your gratitude, support Red Friday. Remember, everyone deployed.
Born into a real fight wasn't right. Where can she dream here? Took a hold of her life, left at night, stepping out of her fear. Bring me home, out alone.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Community Impact for middle of March. I'm sorry. How about the middle of June? March? Wow. We are making a change starting next month. By next month, I do not mean April. I do mean July. Starting the first week of July, we will be on every Tuesday rather than every Wednesday. Wednesdays, we're going to be handing over the channel to Santa Claus. And we're going to be allowing Santa to bring in his story time with Santa shows and share a little bit of positivity and do the wonderful work that he does in order to, once again, just be positive, be supportive, be happy, bring kids and families together. Look, not all of his stories are about Christmas. They're not about the holidays. A lot of them are just about being positive, learning life lessons and stuff like that. Wonderful, wonderful things for kids to do. And that's going to be starting on, I believe, June 1st is the first show. Yeah, June 1st is Santa's first show. So we will be making the switch then. Still the same schedule as far as the second week is Les Simpson. Third week is Wednesday. Wednesday's still the name of the show. And the fourth week of the month is this week. We have Aviva Show. So we will be not changing anything as far as that goes, but the only thing that does change is the day of the week. So we will be on Mondays for Footprints Forward and Tuesdays for Community Impact. We're still going to be doing the daily What You Gots. We do have a new What You Got page. And with that page, there is a chance for you to give us birthdays or anniversaries. This is a chance for you to sit there and wish somebody a happy birthday or a happy anniversary or something like something to that effect. This is just our chance to say thank you for watching, and you can and by saying, hey, I want to wish so and so a happy birthday. Would you mind doing that to us and or for us? And we have no problem doing that. So it's communitypayitforward.us/whatyougot/. So please check it out, fill out the paper or the document, and join us. And also, if you have a celebration that you want us to, if you have a celebration that you would like us to honor, please fill it out. Tell us about the history of that celebration. And if you would like to host it, let us know. Now, there are certain things that we will not celebrate. If it's if it represents divisiveness, we're not celebrating it. There will be no political or like overtly religious celebrations. Easter, we're going to celebrate. But you know what? We're also going to celebrate Muslim and Jewish holidays the same. Because we are one people, and that's what we are going to celebrate. And I am not, we're not out to make one person more important than another, because we're not. Every person is equally important. So please, if you would like to come on, just go to What You Got on Community Pay It Forward. Just go into the page. You can watch past episodes of What You Got there and join us, celebrate birthdays, anniversaries, whatever you want to do. And let's have a little bit of fun with the show. So one of the things that we are doing, if you look up above, you'll see a red QR code. That is for the Come Together Compass, folks. We need to get this going. The Come Together Compass, Come Together Compass is too important to just be sitting idle. I need your help. I need your support with this. So please, if you can, join us in support of the Come Together Compass.
Life hits fast. Crisis doesn't wait, and too many families face hardship alone. But what if one community, one movement, could guide people from crisis to stability and finally home? The Come Together Compass was created for one reason. No one should face hardship alone. Families are overwhelmed, nonprofits are stretched thin, businesses want to help but don't know where to start. Resources exist, but they're scattered, confusing, and hard to access. The purpose of the Come Together Compass is simple: to guide people from crisis to stability by uniting the community around them. The compass removes confusion, connects families to real help, gives businesses a meaningful way to give back, and builds a culture where compassion is the norm. At the heart of the compass is a belief. When we work together, we guide people home. Home isn't just a place. It's safety. It's support. It's knowing someone cares enough to walk with you through the storm. The North Pillar is physical needs, providing real, immediate help. Food, clothing, household essentials, transportation, emergency resources. When crisis hits, people don't need a maze. They need a map. The compass gives them a clear path to support. The East Pillar is emotional needs, because hardship isn't just physical. People need connection, encouragement, and strength. The compass offers peer support check-ins, and mental wellness resources. Help that feels human, not transactional. The South Pillar is community connection, building long-term stability. The Compass links families to nonprofits, business partners, volunteers, and community events. This is how crisis becomes stability, and stability becomes empowerment. And the West Pillar is the promise of the Compass, the commitment that no one will be left behind. Every family will be met with dignity. Every partner will be valued. Every act of kindness will guide someone closer to home. The Compass serves families and individuals facing hardship, nonprofits who want to collaborate, businesses who want to give back, donors and volunteers who want to make a real impact. The Compass matters because people are struggling silently, because resources are scattered, because good people want to help but don't know where to start, because community should mean something. This is more than a program. It is a beacon, a guide, a promise. Join the movement, support a family, partner with the Compass. Help us guide people home.
So again, look, this is something that's going to support everyone, and we need your help. So please, scan the QR code above, get involved, help us out. Let's make a difference for people in every community, everywhere. This is our best chance at helping everyone. It truly is something that we're working on to make immensely important. So coming up later on this year in November 8th, as a matter of fact, we begin the miracle of the season with the chili cook-off.
Warning, the brown cloud is approaching. Some will try to outrun it. Others may not be so lucky. But don't worry, it's all part of the fun at the chili cook-off for books and board games. Where the chili is hot, the flavors are bold. And Bear E has your back with the official Brown Cloud Preparedness Kit. Follow the plan, know your exits, and whatever you do, hold your breath, because this temporary pain is all for a great cause. Join us, laugh with us, survive the brown cloud, together at Key Largo Lounge in Greeley.
Join us November 8th at 11 a.m. for the 10th annual Chili Cook-Off for books and board games at our home field, Key Largo Lounge, where our small market team is making a huge statement. Scan the code for tickets and sponsorship information. Okay, so today is the fourth Wednesday of the month, which does mean the Aviva Show. And we are very, very proud to bring this to you. Aviva is a wonderful, wonderful person. And she is the person that you truly, truly need to go to if you want to make sure that you get the best out of every conversation you have with people. There's a difference between listening and listening, okay? There's a difference between engaging with someone and truly understanding what has been said. This is the best way possible to support each other, is by listening to conversations. And we really get into that conversation here today. If you have, and if you want to get a hold of Aviva, please make sure that you reach out to her by using either the QR code up in the corner, which is the easiest way possible to get a hold of her, or you can use any of her information that you can't see my face. No big damage there. But this is the easiest way possible to get a hold of her. You can call her at 631-885-4375. That's 631-885-4375. Or go to avivacsw@gmail.com, avivacsw@gmail.com. And of course, you can always go to our website, which is avivachansky-gutman.com. But here is this month's episode of the Aviva Show.
So we are back with our friend Aviva. We're talking a lot about active listening, mirroring, and some of the other things that go on with one. And Aviva, maybe we could start here. What are some of the benefits of doing this? Because we are going to be talking about how to make this a little more comfortable. But why should people really, even if they're uncomfortable with it, what are some of the benefits people are going to get from this?
Okay. So many aspects as to why active listening is beneficial, both for someone sending you information, for you receiving information. The very overarching part as to why it's beneficial is that it helps anyone you're listening to feel understood and recognized and heard and seen. And the reason it's so important also is because a lot of us experience that as not being true in most of our conversations and when we speak to other people. And it ranges all the way from the smallest interaction with someone in a store or the mailman or anybody you encounter throughout your day to your closest, deepest relationships with someone that you are living with or the parent-child, anybody that you have close ongoing relationship with. They're not usually used to, and neither are you, how important actively listening to what they have to say is, and how important it is for yourself as someone who's listening, which was called the receiver in this kind of technique, because when you take more in, you understand without confusion and distortion what the person's sending you as information, which also streamlines the whole process so that you both feel more understood, heard, and aware of what's going on. A lot of communication is, in general, when it's not conscious or intentional, like actively listening, is full of misunderstandings, interruptions, distortions, and they become habits. And when they become habits, then lots of people don't understand things. There's some type of a percentage quoted in workshops when I help in workshops about active listening and mirroring that we discussed on the last podcast. There's a percentage of only about 50% of information gets understood completely, and then most people have made the other 50% up in their imagination of what they've heard, even about what they've seen on television or in a movie or in a YouTube video. They get part of it, they don't get all of it. But when you can actively listen and ask someone, did I get what you said, or have I understood you? They can let you know sooner you got most of it, or there was a part that you left out that I also want you to know. And none of it's about finger pointing and blaming. It's about clarity. And most of us, it's because we're not used to having that experience of how soothing and healing it can feel to have someone understand us. We're used to the other feeling, not feeling understood, not being fully listened to. I know you just mentioned before we got on the call about, when you go to a doctor and some listen and some half listen and some delegate the listening to their clerical staff to be the intake of an information list about what a person's there for. And you don't feel even heard when you're there talking with them because they have a summary in their head, something written down that they're reading, but they're not really saying, and how is it for you? And for you to say it, they may not be fully available for that. So that is one of the answers about why it's helpful. It's soothing to be understood. It's soothing to be able to know what's going on instead of being confused by what you're hearing. You're clear on what you got from someone. So there's a lot of positives to it.
One of the things that I just experienced, and I wonder about this, is I was trying to take notes as we were talking. How does a person who's trying to take notes, how did they make sure that they're not looking like they're trying to, excuse the vulgarity here, but half-ass their listening? You know, I'm trying to make sure that I'm bringing everything in, but I feel like I'm putting off a signal that I'm ignoring.
So which question is that about? The question of the person speaking? How do they feel when someone's taking notes? Or about?
Well, yeah, like how does the person who's receiving, how does the receiver make sure that they're not
distracted?
That they're not showing that they're. How do they prove that they're listening?
Okay. Well, first of all, I know we got some feedback that the skills I was trying to show last time seemed very unnatural and robotic. And one reason is because they're exercises. And they're exercises, just like when you learn a new language and they give you the verb tense exercises, or you learn a new math equation in high school and they say, now practice it for homework over and over with new variables in it. So you're doing an exercise so that it becomes more natural to do the part that is the part that will help you without having to think about it. So it's important to just be going through this rhythm of the steps, and you've memorized steps, just like when anybody out there who's learned to play an instrument, you've memorized where put your fingers, or you blow into the flute or whatever. There's some memorization that makes it second nature. So that's one reason about the question that you mentioned a few people had. It seems so unnaturally, don't do it. But when it becomes second nature, just like driving a car for many people, you don't think about the car and how you're driving it anymore. You're usually thinking about where you're going. Now GPS is taking care of even that for your brain. But you're doing as much as you can without it being the prominent first thing. Oh yes, start the car by putting my foot down on that pedal. Start the car by making sure I hear the engine rev up. You don't even think about those things anymore. They're second nature. So I'm not sure I answered the question. I feel like I went on a roundabout.
Yeah. What about like the tone of the receiver giving the information back? Does that change with the conversation? Because of course you don't want to, when somebody says something, you don't want to come back at them in like a snarky voice, but is it always a serious tone that you come back, or does it really depend on the conversation and the information?
Well, I can actually use an example I had to do this morning. I had to talk to customer service at one of my banks, and they are...
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. It was a person. It took a while to get a person. Okay, so when I got a person, a few things happened. They spoke way too fast because they were used to, I guess, having to say something they memorized very quickly. And I said, the connection is not that good. It wasn't. Could you please speak a little slower because you're going very fast? So that's something about the intention to understand the person. You're letting them know out of respect. Also, you want to understand, but could you help me by going slower? The way it relates to teaching active listening is to say, I got some of what you said. Can you give me it in smaller chunks? Or can you slow down? Or let me repeat back what I've understood so far. So there's ways it becomes more natural, because that conversation is a very typical, everyday, unfortunately, experience for people calling a customer service. It's not typical to get a person, so I have to add that. But when you get a person, you can have now the mirroring aspect go back and forth. When the call had gotten through the details I was calling about, and they were listing it off to say, we've done this today, that. And I said, let me make sure I understood this. And not just because I've been trained to try to do that and help people do that. I really wanted to make sure I understood what they were saying, so because it was important. The call had already gone on quite some time. And I repeated back. So as far as I've understood, we did this, we did that, and this won't happen anymore because we did that. And they said, yes, you got it. So without saying it's an active listening dialogue or imago therapy dialogue, that's how it's structured. It's really interesting. It's part of many businesses use it for their customer relations. Not so much the part, well, they do actually, they try to say it must be frustrating to you. Like if you have a glitch in your system, this must be frustrating. So sorry this happened to you. Now, it doesn't mean that they're genuinely offering you that they care that much, but they've been trained that they're supposed to say that. But in regular life, if you're with a person, there was one feedback you received about how do I repeat back to someone without sounding like I'm mocking them, I guess, or making fun of them.
Yeah.
So basically, it's also just, I just want to make sure I understand as part of it. I want to say that I've understood you, so please give me a chance to say back what I've understood so far. Because that's a request of the person who's given you information and for them to understand you. It's a mutual, can you help me? Because I'm trying to understand to help understand. It's beneficial both ways. I think the fact that it was an exercise experience and it was uncomfortable, and it was uncomfortable to watch an exercise that people are unfamiliar with. But that doesn't mean it has to be that way. It can be very small efforts, like mirroring back. Like, I'd like my coffee to have cream and sugar. This is the barista would say, okay, let me make sure I have that. The coffee, milk and or cream and sugar, how much of each, whatever. It happens in lots of settings. It's just we were doing an exercise and breaking it down into steps. But certainly I can help make it be less overwhelming and discuss it in pieces.
Is there a rule on how much the receiver does repeat back?
The sender just has to feel they've been understood when they hear it back. That's why in that exercise, that makes it more natural over time, like all exercises do. When you say, let me just see if I got it, or if I heard you, what you've said is, and they're letting you know, yes, you've got it, or yes, you've got it, but I want to add. So they come to a point where there's no more, that it's been fully understood. And usually both parties know that because they've said it to each other. Yes, like the call I just had. Yes, you've got that whole point of what we just did. You understood the summary. Okay. And that helped me and helped them.
Yeah, and I think that if people understand that it is an individualized thing, I think that's going to make it a little bit easier, because, you know, somebody doesn't look, and we're not sure if he's going to be able to make it on. We're trying to get Mr. Z to come on, but Mr. Z has a habit of, he is very good at this. He is very, very good at this. He is definitely like your star pupil, but he can go down the list and just repeat everything that you've said. He makes sure he understands it, and the one thing about Z is that he is so good at this that he can remember something that you talked about 6 months ago because of his way of listening, because of the way he does this. And it can be a small thing that you don't remember saying, but he's going to remember it because of the way he listens. But you don't have to particularly do it that way if you can, as long as you make sure that they understand that you are understanding and getting the full picture.
Yes, and usually you can tell when somebody feels you have not understood what they've said. There's some degree of frustration or like never mind in their expression, like, oh, forget it, I won't even try. You can usually see that in someone, or they'll say it, never mind. That's when you're in the public arena and in other situations that aren't based on an exercise. So for those who felt uncomfortable, first of all, watching it is uncomfortable to watch people learning something new, and the experience of, in some ways, feeling interrupted because I was trying to stay on track about the steps. But we can certainly make it slower and clearer, because I do even teach classes just for 2 hours totally about the active listening part, where it's about the mirroring and being present. Being actively, or listening actively, is a calorie burner. It really is hard when you first do it because you're not used to doing it. Most of the time we are not doing that in life. We are listening to make sure someone stops talking. We are thinking of all the answers that we can have as they're talking. And so that whole chatter in your head is already interrupting your ability to fully hear them. And we have to always know that a lot of it's based on people being anxious because they've been taught in life. Just keep remember, we're going to say the next thing. What is it? What is it? Like, your mind goes by what you've been conditioned to do. As if you've been conditioned all your life, make sure you have the right answer or you'll be embarrassed in class. Make sure you're always ready to talk when you're being asked to talk without knowing when that might be. It's with this classroom stuff too, a lot of it. And then a lot of it happens in jobs where people feel pressured in the moment to do something immediately. So their mind's always bracing. So we're trying to teach a technique that is not about bracing, not about fear, slowing down. And all these things are not what's reinforced by the culture. The culture is speed, 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 instant answer, know it right away, don't take time. And active listening is about take the time. And that people are so unused to being received with patience and, intention to be listening to them. This intention is part of what you're asking too. If your intention is to be bonded through communication, through an experience of talking that's calm, then the intention starts to be felt by both of you.
Okay. So one of the problems that we could be having is we are already answering questions before the statement is even finished being made. We're forming an answer before the full statement, before we receive the full statement, right? Mm-hmm. And so that means we're making an assumption rather than answering a statement or answering a question, and we're not getting everything.
Well, one thing is the brain does, a lot of it's about how the brain works. The brain is always trying to make sense of whatever it receives. If there is part that it already in the past connected to an idea or something that you've heard, it'll jump in with that information and say, that always means that. Like, that person saying that always means that. So even when you're trying to actively listen, you can get sidetracked by your brain saying, I don't have to fully listen. I know what they're going to say. That is how the brain is trying to just say, I have the dots to connect it to already. I don't need to take in new dots. It's like, I will just make it quicker. A lot of it is our brain hijacking our intention for it to be different. So we call a lot of this retraining the brain to be more present, to not jump to conclusions, to not listen to inner chatter. And we all have inner chatter. And again, our culture reinforces being distracted, having the quickest thing happen, doing it without having to do the actual step-by-step work to do something. So your brain's trying to act that way too. It's trying to say, I got it already, I can do it. And so that's always going to be an issue until you're aware of it. And a lot of people actually physiologically can't be. So if you have people who have situations where their brain fires very quickly anyway, and some of them can't stay on attention because that's what's going on with their brain chemistry. So let's say someone with attention issues, it's going to be very hard for them to actively listen because their brain's already jumping faster anyway than a lot of people. And so, but I've worked with people who have attention issues. So what they end up doing is, I'll say, break it to very small pieces. So as the person's sending anything, even a word or two is the first thing they mirror back. If they say, today's a sunny day, today's a sunny day. It hasn't been sunny for a while. It hasn't been sunny for a while. Smaller chunks, they can say it back in that smaller way. It becomes harder when they want to summarize sometimes because they've done little pieces and you're asking, okay, now that you've heard all the little pieces, what is the big piece? But they sometimes do it because they've created new pathways. The brain, they have something called neuroplasticity, where the brain with new ways of doing something can sometimes develop a new pathway for how it's done. So that's also part of active listening. Never before have I listened attentively. Now I'm teaching myself to listen attentively. There's a lot of good stuff going on for your brain in active listening too.
Oh yeah. One of the podcasters that I really enjoy listening to has a very, very bad habit of, he'll ask a question, the person will start to answer this question, but he will jump in and correct them while they're answering the question, and you never get to, or he'll jump in and answer their question like we were just talking about. He'll answer their question before they have a chance to get it all out, and you can tell that there's more question to come. Mm-hmm. My question in this is, how can you as a deliverer slow down the receiver? How can you slow them down politely? You don't want to just go, hey, wait. How can you as the deliverer slow that person down and tell them there's more to this without sounding like you're scolding them?
Well, sometimes you can let them finish what they're doing because it's their own need for themselves to do that. There's a need for them to say something immediately. It might be impatience. It might be the force of not saying it makes them so uncomfortable they just have to say it. So they're feeling the pressure. Just say something. They're not thinking about it. It's like comes out, right? So one way to take care of that, and again, that's something that happened just so recently. Someone responded that way to something I was asking them about, and they're like, "But I took care of that. I did all." And I just, at that point, because it was a short opportunity, I said, "Can you please let me finish? Can you please let me finish?" But if there had been more time to speak, I may have let them completely say their reaction, because it's all reaction. The brain's reacting. Mm-hmm. I have to say something now. I want to say something now. And just said, okay, but I just want to let you know all of what I was about to tell you. Like, just gently. I just wanted to finish and I've heard that on talk shows too. I've heard the guests sometimes say, well, back to what I was saying. I just want to finish my thought without saying you didn't let me. It's more, well, I just want to finish what I was trying to get across. Or it's important to also add the last part. If you can, and it takes training of yourself to go to the part where, okay, let me express my need to finish without shaming or blaming or complaining, which is very important. The three, they rhyme: shaming, blaming, complaining. So in both directions, you're trying to not let anybody feel that it's dangerous to be expressing themselves, even if they're doing an interruption in regular life is not as controlled as an exercise. So regular life, that's a regular life situation. And so, yes, the impulse also for the one not being able to finish can be, how dare they interrupt me? I really want to finish. That is so rude. But they can twist it if they have the second that they can help themselves with. Let me reframe that, not to blame or shame or be angry at this person, just to say, okay, yes. However, I also want to add, like, gently go around, or additionally at the end, make sure what you want to say is said. I think it was on the news. I forget which person said it. I am speaking. I was during the debates once, one of the presidential debates. Was it Kamala Harris? I was just like, I am speaking. No, we don't do that to get it. I mean, it had a point. It had a point. It was valid for what was happening. But in regular conversation, that's considered a shutdown, of the person, whatever they did, even if they're interrupting. You don't want to interrupt back or you don't want to do in kind, even though it's unkind, do in kind the same thing that they've done by trying to not let you finish, trying to be compassionate for why they're doing it in your mind. And then just gently, I just want to also say before I finish X, Y, or Z.
I think that one of those things that you were just talking about the debates, that's one of the tricks that they use on like the round table shows, is that they get each other to interrupt, so it causes that conflict. And I was watching YouTube this morning, and it was going back to a couple of those shows where they were each speaking all over each other, and I am talking, I am speaking, it is my turn, you've already, you've taken so much time, let me talk. And you sit there, and it works in the dynamic of the show. For me, I can't stand it. It's like, stop, just stop. One of the other things that I hear is that this is perfect for relationships, because when the one thing that in my 3 relationships, I should be an expert. I am not. But the one thing that I have noticed is there are so many times where 2 people are saying the exact same thing, but we don't ever listen to each other fully and completely. So we're never able to to come across that, yeah, we're saying the same thing. We're both saying the same thing. We're just hearing it or we're presenting it in a different way. And how do we go about making sure that we're able to decipher that and say, hey, look, we're saying the same thing. We're just saying it in a different language. Men are from Venus, or men are from Mars, women from Venus, however that goes, how do we go about making sure we come to that conclusion, that realization?
Well, actually, the whole theory about the active listening and dialogue started with relationships in terms of my training. The imago therapy model is about actively listening to your partner in a relationship, and they expanded it to be that you can use those skills to any conversation, which is also called the safe conversation dialogue that I teach, exactly the same, but a different name. In other groups, you teach businesses, you teach schools, how to actively listen. So in a relationship, it's because of the exercise itself and the promise that you will do an exercise where you don't interrupt, because the interruption is always what's going on in regular life, and you're trying to learn a new skill through the exercise itself, how to be fully present, how to fully listen, how to contain when you're feeling a reaction that you want to say right away. So interruption is a reaction. Like, you're usually interrupting because it brings something up that you have to feel you have to say in the moment. But in the Mago dialogue training, which is active listening at its core and mirroring, you're training yourself and your partner, you're both training through the exercise limits and structure, how to pace and how to be slower and how to be safer and not interrupt. And it's designed that way. It's hard to do it without the structure of a dialogue as a learning experience, but once you start to integrate it, it happens outside of the learning. It happens, outside of the session or the structure of a class doing it. You start to just do it more naturally. That's what Z is always more naturally doing it as part of everything he does, is to say, let me make sure I got that. Let me make sure I understood what you're asking of me in terms of web design updates. I want to make sure I got it so that I fully heard you. That's just natural now as part of his business model, which is another clue. It can help there too in your business life as well as your personal life, especially in your closest, most frequent relationships.
I think the one thing, I hate making it sound like we're tooting Z's horn, in which we are, but the truth is that you very, very, very rarely in the 5+ years that I've known him, I think I've only heard him say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I mistook what you said for this," because he listens and he gets it, and he makes sure that he walks away with the full picture rather than walks away with a quarter of the picture or 3/4 of the picture. He doesn't ever leave it to where, "Oh, I'm sorry, I mistakenly heard this," instead of hearing the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So I think he is just by far your star pupil, but he is living proof that this is the best way to go when it comes to somebody who is creating a product or a program for somebody, because it is the best way to take in all that information.
Well, just to clarify, any people that watch that don't know who Z is, because there are probably somebody out there that don't know who he is. He is my web designer and my friend who I know for over 10 years through networking groups. And I can always speak with him about updates, and he does always make sure, as his business model and his personality, to make sure he's understood what you're asking him for. So he's not someone that would run off and just say, "I'll take care of it and you'll like what I do, or you'll let me know how you feel about it when I do it." He also said he hates that kind of a client that just says, "You take care of it," because he wants the engagement of knowing that everybody's mutually understanding each other, which not just because of Z and his business, but that's the model lots of businesses could take that would prevent a lot of wasted time, charges that are not necessary because somebody did something that wasn't necessary just by assumptions. It's all about, if you understand something, you know what's needed. If you don't understand it, you sort of like, let me guess what's needed. And a lot of business people will do that. And then they'll say, well, you weren't clear on what you wanted, so I did everything, or I did nothing, or I did what I thought you wanted. See how it's all about clarity. I did what I thought you wanted. It wasn't clear what you wanted. And that happens in real life. We've all had that kind of feedback from a business, right? I'm sure you have.
Oh, yeah, very much so. Exercises, smaller exercises that we can do today to where we can gradually get into doing this every day.
Well, one thing we talk about is the empathy portion. That's just part of the connection process between people. There's a phrase that we talk about in the workshops, and I was just assisting at a workshop this weekend for imago therapy, which uses all this stuff. A phrase to ask someone when they come home for the end of the day is, what was it like to be you today? So you're asking, let me know what you experienced, and then who you are and what your life is like versus my experience. Because the fact that people are different is actually one reason they feel very connected. When they understand they're different, they understand my partner or my friend or my child has a different world than I do. But let me make sure I'm always aware of that. My way of looking at life is not necessarily how they're looking at their life. And it really shouldn't be that any two people see everything exactly the same. It's not really realistic or possible. It's a hope. It's a wish. It's a cultural imperative. You've got to, especially couples, you should be completing each other, have the same experience and see everything the same way. That's not how it goes. That's why there's friction, because people are usually trying to assert in some way, but I see it differently. So just that, what was it like to be you today? You're asking your partner what their day was like, how they felt about their day. And then if you could mirror it, so you're saying, if I got all that, it was frustrating, you had trouble with so-and-so in the hallway, and you had a lot of work you had to catch up on, and your boss didn't give you enough time. You mirror it back. Did I get that? It doesn't have to be that it isn't making fun of them to say, did I get it? I just want to make sure I get it. You're also asking, I want to make sure I understand you better as part of why you're asking these questions. And you can do it every day. How do you want me to help you make your coffee this morning? What do you want in it? I want the cream and sugar example. You want cream and sugar? How many of each? And it's just because you're trying to retrain your brain to be actively aware and listening, not that you're stupid and you can't get it. How come? That's not what it's about. It may feel that way when you have struggled to listen, because it's a new way of doing something. New things make us feel stupid. I feel stupid when I do new things. I feel confused. I feel disoriented. And active listening can make someone feel that way the first few times they do it.
I knew very, very quickly that I messed up the first time I made my wife's coffee, because I do not drink coffee. I loathe coffee, to be honest with you. And so I did not have a coffee maker here at my house. And so I went to the store to go make her coffee, and she likes it with French vanilla cream. And so I made her, I poured the coffee, and then I over creamed it. And I walked in, and I could tell by the look on her face that I messed up, because she was like, did you put any coffee in this at all? And I knew right then and there that I had messed up.
So she had creamer with coffee in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, very much. She had enough coffee to warm up her creamer.
Okay.
So that was about the way it was. So what was it like to be you today? I am excited to use that just because of the anticipation of the look on her face, because that is going to be a question that she's going to have to actually think about her day as well. And I think this is in my opinion, the way that question is phrased, this gives them a chance to really look back at their day and
their inner experience.
Right. And be honest with themselves on the answer, right. Because how was your day? Your first question is, well, it was good. It was okay. It was, it sucked.
A lot of the time that leads to, if it's just, how was your day? talking about everybody else, everybody externally.
Yep.
And you're right that it does invite, go in. How was it like to be you? What was it like to be you today? What was your inner life like? And two parts of that are important: the reflection inside, because we don't do that very often, plus the person right away knowing they want to know about what it's like to be me, that they care about me enough to know what my experience is like. That's a nice, wonderful feeling.
Yeah. How was your day is almost like, how are you when you start a conversation? They become filler to a point, because we ask people, hey, how are you? And oh, I'm okay. And you instantly get into the conversation before they even finish. We've made, how was your day? How you doing? We've made those just pointless beginnings a lot of time, because we don't wait for them to finish their answer. And a lot of times the people's answers to those questions are, they understand that these are just like pointless fillers, pointless beginnings. So they're going to give you an answer that is very unresponsive and not truthful. You know, it's, I'm fine. Are you really fine? Well, no, but I don't think you really care, you know? And so approaching it, you know, what was it like to be you today? That makes them sit there and go, wow, what was it like to be me today? And they can be, you know, they can give you a better answer. I love that question. I really do. And like I said, I am actually really looking forward to pulling that one off on Adrienne today.
Also on your networking calls, when you have your big groups, the first 5 minutes, just tell us one thing about what it was like to be you today. Then they all start to share something really more about their reality than, I sell this, I sell that. I don't think you have those calls. My product is this, but if you make the person take a second to just, you know, make them do anything, but if you invite them, okay, so you invite them to do that, then that gives them curiosity about themselves, honored that they're being asked about themselves, and it works in lots of levels. Again, the brain has to do more than it's used to, not in a hard way, but in a healing way and a connecting way. Although in the beginning, with any learning, things can feel very confusing, hard, stressful, but as they become more natural, especially active listening. And I want to add that active listening has another model that's not about it being for the beneficial reason. It's like a lot of sales clerks might use, or I hate to give them a bad name, but people talk always about car salesmen or whatever. Not that they should be given this bad name, but that's the characteristic about, they're asking you questions, wanting to know what your life is like, sort of getting in there about what your amount of children, what you use the car for, but not with the purpose of getting to know you and care about you. So that's kind of a one-sided asking you, inviting you about yourself to know more. That's for a sales pitch kind of thing. They're building the picture of what your life is like so they can say, okay, given all that, I can give you this great car. But what I'm saying is you have to go beyond that distortion model. That's a distortion of a one-sided experience of the purposes for something else, not for you as the customer genuinely. They don't care about your life genuinely in that way, that a romantic partner, life partner, family member who's close to you, deep friendship, those people care in the ways that I'm talking about in our method. We're not talking about it not being mutual, because it takes turns. You know, when you do a structured exercise, you take a turn. How are you doing? Let me learn more about you. Not for any ulterior motive. And again, sorry to every wonderful car salesman out there. I know you all have private lives that are not about the sales. So I just use it as an example of a stereotype.
Yeah. I appreciate you apologizing to them, but that is the way that they work, you know.
A lot of salespeople have been coached to do that.
Yeah. Well, and they're good at it. You know, a good salesperson, a good salesperson are going to use your answers to do their job. They, you know, I mean, they need to get to know certain aspects of your life to do their job. And we, as the human species, have a tendency to give like a lot of information when we don't need to, and at times. And so that makes it that, you know, you help them out quite a bit by doing that. So
yeah, you're giving them a template of your life for them to use as, let me tell you what you need because of the things you told me. So to qualify how that's different from what we're doing in active listening and the models I'm talking about, that's for the purpose of people mutually understanding one another, feeling more connected. Because disconnection is a big problem in our culture and world. Pretending that people understand each other or assuming things about each other, it leads to disconnection. People aren't really understanding each other. So especially in romantic close relationships or close work relationships, friendships, you want to feel that you understand each other. So there's not so many situations where you have to double check if you've understood. You sort of start to know people better when you're both doing this over time.
Well, Aviva, I greatly appreciate this, and again, for those of you who did ask and you were wondering, just remember when this is a little uncomfortable, because it's going to be a little uncomfortable at first. Just remember that you're doing this for clarity. You're doing this, you know, for actually you can even use it for the direction of the conversation. Make sure that, you know, you're getting the full story before you know, take a conversation in a direction it doesn't need to go. But it is for clarity. And the rhythm and the exercise are the two things that I've got down. Can you please explain the rhythm of the exercise one last time?
Sure. Well, I would say, because people have given you feedback that there was too much to absorb, which makes sense because it was a very short amount of time to try to get a lot of information across. What I can say is that the most important part is to start learning how to actively listen to someone important to you, or someone you really want to have understand you. You want to understand them. It's just the situation is sort of better if you have that understanding with each other. So actively listening is the first portion of practicing the skills. I hear you mirroring back. Someone says something, I hear you say, and then you're checking, did I get that? And have the person continue to let you know what they want you to know in whatever pace you need as the receiver and they need as the sender. But the other portions, which are validating means you make sense and this is the reason why, and empathy, which is saying I understand how your experience emotionally. From what I've heard you say, you seem to be sad, mad, proud, glad. Like that just shows, we can break it down to 3 different structured segments that you put on for people over time instead of one big hour of everything. Validation helps a person understand that their world is different from yours and vice versa. And that's important because so much of the pressure we have is that we're supposed to feel the same way about everything, and that doesn't make us feel connected. That makes us feel stressed that we're not meeting that demand or expectation. And then empathy is showing that you've listened with your heart, that you understand the experience of the person. So a good person in the helping professions, which is the category that is most used with this, is like doctors, nurses, therapists. So it from everything you've said, I'm sensing you feel sad by that, or you experience some feelings of grief. Like identifying the undertone in what somebody said to you helps a lot for them saying, yes, not only my words were heard, but my emotions were heard. Because emotions are important. They're messengers too, not just the words. So frustration can be heard a lot, you know, and if you say it to a person, I hear frustration, they're like, yes, you got that. I'm frustrated. Yes. And it takes a pressure. The minute someone tells you that they've heard what your emotional state is and that they understood it, it's big lifting off the chest, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Because you can tell that somebody is just not ready maybe to talk about that, or they need to talk about that, but they need to talk about it in a certain way. You know, you don't want to come in and celebrate something that somebody's having frustration on. You want to talk to them about, how is this frustrating you? What can I do to help your frustration? There's so many different ways that you can go with that conversation, but you can't do it if you don't fully listen to them. The last thing that we really want to ask you to try tonight is today is walk up to somebody and ask them. Don't ask them how it's going. Hey, how you doing? Ask them, what was it like to be you today? Give them a different way to look at their own situation, and it will also show how much you care about their answer. And it's going to give you a vision into their day and potentially even further into who they are. So a little bit better. So, Aviva, our question of the month in family networking was this, and I'd like to get your answer of this today. Who is someone who has done something for you or done something impactful for you? Who is that, and what can we do to honor them by helping others?
Well, I would guess it can also be someone who's no longer with us.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So there are so many people like that, especially from the other side. And I'll first identify my late father, because his belief in my ability to do things that when I was younger, I didn't quite formulate yet that I was capable of. And the consistent statement, I know you can do it, you're capable, or you'll learn that you will be capable, or I can see you doing this. All that belief in me was very important for everything I've done since he said those things, which is a long time ago. And so having a role model is very important, and he is a very strong role model among others, but he's one of the strongest in my life.
That's so important. Just having somebody who is going to stick behind who you are, and they're going to let you figure it out, let you make the decisions that you're going to do and support your decisions. I think that is so important. How can we honor them by helping others?
Well, what I can say is there's a few layers to that. First of all, he was a helping professional. He was a therapist, psychotherapist, and psychiatrist. And I emulated him in many ways because of what I ended up doing with my life. But also his belief in compassion for people of all different nations, cultures, economic levels. That has carried through for me in many things that I do. Not everything I do, but as much as I can do. That view of the world is nobody's this over that one. It's mutuality of people are people. When you encounter them, people are people. Whether you like them or not, whether you agree with them or not, first meeting them as they're the same race and human race, not different races. You're a human, and so are they. And so honoring that in whatever capacity, the family that you have of people that are doing work for underprivileged, underserved populations that don't get recognized enough, anything in that list of, I know you have a lot of the family members that are doing work like that. Even with the veterans, they're not always seen at the same, they are, just like we are, the same people at heart, but they're seen as maybe not deserving of something or untouchable in some way, or the population that is always looked at as different. So to break down that barrier of something being different. My father was very, very insistent on you don't focus on differences and divides. And it informed everything he did as a parent. He had us exposed to lots of cultures in our school, an international school. My children are very similar now in how they relate to the people in their lives. And it wasn't even discussed. It's like the values come down in your blood and your family will do what you show them that you believe in. So any of your partners that have to do with helping populations that are seen as different or less than, that's very important to not have that perpetuated, but to help those populations.
I think that's lovely. And I completely agree that, look, I don't I don't think that anyone is of lesser value than myself. I think that each one of us has I think each and every one of us is born with something that has just immense value, and our goal as a human race should be to encourage and grow that value within that person and help them bring that value out. And I think that we would do so much better rather than trying to squash someone, try to encourage and build that value that they have. And I think that we could do so much better. And I absolutely agree with you that, look, there is only one, there is the one race, and it's the human race. So I will always say that. Aviva, thank you so very much for today. This has been another wonderful, wonderful show. We are going to continue talking about this, and we are going to continue trying to help you understand exactly what this is and how it's going to benefit you. But the best thing that you can do is get a hold of us and ask questions. We will tell you when we're going to record. You can come on with us and ask those questions. If you would like to put yourself in a scenario to where you can work through that scenario, we're more than happy to put you in that example and help you work through a situation that maybe you're having a difficult time with, or maybe you just don't get it. And Aviva can definitely help you do that. If you would like to get a full-on experience, Aviva is part of the Community Pay It Forward family. Anytime you hire her, a portion of what you hire her comes back into the community. You get to choose who you like to support. And so this is a great way to help yourself, help others, while you're improving your business and relationships, or relationships and business. So,
and to let the part where they've asked questions is very important. I do appreciate that after people have watched, they've asked Zach questions, and that is ideal. If they have a question about a method that I've discussed or something they'd like to just experiment trying, the purpose is to help and to encourage and not any embarrassment or shaming. And we'll go slower from this point forward to the portions of something so that everybody can take it in, because to take things in, it does help to go repetitively and slowly for myself too. That's how I learned too.
Digesting is very important. So, well, Aviva, thank you so very much, and we will talk to you again here real soon. So,
thank you to you and all your partners for all that they do and for each other and with each other. I appreciate it.
We're so glad to have you as part of the family. And the QR code that you're seeing on the screen right now is the best way that you can get a hold of Aviva. Just simply scan that QR code. It will take you to her page. You can read a little bit about her, and it'll have all of her contact information. You can get a hold of her there. So thank you, Aviva. We'll see you soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. It was nice to talk with everybody again.
Have a good day. We'll be right back.
Bye.
All right, so sorry about that, but that was Aviva, and we're going to keep rolling. Like I said, if you heard me before, I apologize, but we're going to keep rolling and move on to our brand new partner, which is Philip Arbach from Arbach Industries. I'm sorry, Arbach International, who can turn your business international. Favorite time to of doing any of these podcasts is right now, and that's when I get to introduce you to a brand new partner, someone else who takes what we do together and sees the value, because they know, just like we do, we get to finally help as many people as we can, and we're on our mission, and we're always going to be on our mission to help everyone through something. It sounds impossible, but it's not. And we can never, ever accomplish this until we help the very next person. So the person that I want to introduce you to right now, who is on that same mission as me, is Mr. Philip Arbach from Arbach International. Philip, how you doing today?
Good, Zach. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, that's great. Philip, I want to tell you a little story, and I think this really digs into what are one of the things that you really want to talk about. And it was Google Translate that did this, and it was early Google Translate that did this. When I started this company, probably we just celebrated our 11th birthday on the company 12th birthday, and I wanted to make sure that it was done in Spanish as well. So I took and I just copied and pasted and put everything in there, and I asked some Spanish-speaking friend of mine to please read it over and tell me what they thought. And they thought this: it makes no sense. You can't even read it. It's words that don't go together, and it just makes no sense. And I said, I don't understand. It's exactly what I put in there. And he told me there's no sentence structure. The sentences are formed different in Spanish than they are in English. So what it did is it tried to take and put together an English version of the sentence in Spanish, and it just doesn't make sense to a Spanish-speaking person. Why is it that AI does this with all-knowing AI when they should be able to sit there and say, oh yeah, we need to take and form this into Spanish-speaking sentences?
Well, it's a very good question. I am not a technologist, but I'll answer it the best way I can. First of all, our company has provided languages, translating, interpreting, transcribing, dubbing, subtitling, everything into over 120 languages for the past 35 years. And we do this with precision and accuracy, which AI itself doesn't do, as you illustrated. First of all, AI has improved since then, but it's still absolutely not perfect. It's not always accurate. And people assume that what they're putting in, people assume that the output is accurate, and it is, except if it isn't. And unless you know the language, you won't know, like your friend who reviewed it, you won't know that it's garbage or that it makes no sense. And I can give you some examples of this. But languages, yes, have different sentence structures. So the AI programmers, developers, have to program their algorithms to accommodate the sentence structures of the what's called the target language, what something is going into. And again, sometimes they do it well, sometimes they haven't got a clue, and it becomes gibberish. And sometimes the words make no sense, or the words are simply misused, is most common. So, for example, we had a case just this past week where a very wise law firm came to us because they wanted us to check its AI version of the contract it was preparing in Spanish, and one of the sentences was, the English original was, something is going to clear through customs. And the AI translation used the word nacionalizar, which means to nationalize. Has nothing to do with clearing through customs. So that was clearly where it was wrong. They also had something about, in English we would say to execute documents. And this, again, the AI used a word that basically it means to sign, but it's more commonly used to mean to subscribe. So it's not to subscribe to documents, it's to sign the documents, to have a clear record that this is exactly what you want to agree to. So again, sometimes it's words, sometimes it's sentence structure, sometimes it's phrases, a lot of times it's acculturation, so I would call it a cultural adaptation, which AI does not do very well at all. Sometimes it's changing again the grammar structure, or again misunderstanding words, or putting expressions that simply can't be translated properly. So there are a lot of mistakes that AI makes, and you illustrated one of them. By the way, Google was one of our clients for many years. And this is after they had Google Translate. They still came to us to do it correctly.
They needed it. Like I said, they definitely needed it, because I'll tell you that one, that was really a wonderful experience, because I knew that at that point that I needed to make sure that I had this checked, and I never sent anything else out again that I didn't have a friend or my neighbor who speaks fluent Spanish. I made sure that they understood it, and it's like, did I do this right? Is this right? And so it was an experience that really truly did help me. Philip, let's first off, congratulations on 30 years in business. That is beautiful. So congratulations there. But let's go back 30 years ago, my friend. What was it that said, I want to do this? This is it. Translation and helping people do business around the world, connecting people, because that's truly what you do, is you make it possible to connect with people of other cultures, of other countries. So I mean, it's such an invaluable thing that you do, and there's no way to put a price on that, that connection. Why?
Yeah, that's very true. So most people in this country are totally clueless, and there's no reason they would necessarily think about it. But 80% of the world does not speak English. It's closer to 17%, but let's say, it's closer to 27%, whatever. But only 17% of the world does speak English, which means 20% does, 80% doesn't. So approximately. So the point is that if you want to communicate with other cultures and other nationalities, other countries, it's important to put your message in languages that they understand, because also around 60% of world internet users will only talk to you if you address them in their native languages. So, and that can be people in this country who are immigrants, for example, or certainly people abroad. So if people are looking to expand their reach beyond the convenient North America that they know, the way to do it is by communicating with people in other languages. How I got into this business was by total accident, as most language service providing owners are. That's what we're called, language agencies, or called LSPs, language service providers. And I got into it by total accident 36 years ago, actually, where I had a marketing consultancy at one, and my background at the time, and still to some extent, I have a master's degree in international marketing, and I had studied 6 or 7 languages by then. I think now I've studied 8. So between the master's degree in international marketing and the languages, that fit together, that was about international. And I was literally approached one day when I had a marketing consultancy by a group of translators who said, we'd like to, we can do all the work, we can do anything into any language, but we're just looking for someone to bring us the clients. And that's how the company started. Very simple. And
I think, and I really can't put an emphasis on how important it is, because there is an international connection here. I mean, this isn't, we're, one of the things that COVID did in a positive sense is it made it to where there is really no such thing as a local business, because it made sure that we all had the websites and we all had the e-commerce and all this other. Well, people are no longer subject to big box store. Your little mom and pop shop can compete with them because they can be seen everywhere.
Right.
But only if they can be understood. And so that's, and exactly what you said. It's almost like if somebody who has a difficulty, like say they are deaf and they cannot navigate your website because it's not made for the hearing impaired. They're not going to continue just to try to figure out your computer, your website. That's the same with someone of a different language. They're not just going to continue trying to decipher things. So,
Yeah. And that's very true. And look, just because people may read English or speak English on a tourist level or a simple school level does not mean that they understand or feel comfortable with English on a business level or whatever your product or service is. Every industry, whether it's real estate or wine or agriculture or software or electrical circuits or chemistry, each industry has its own terminology. And so most people do not learn that terminology when they study a foreign language. They learn, conversation, and that's fine. But if you've got a technical product or a product that's, business oriented in any way, in most cases you're using some technical vocabulary, and people may not necessarily understand that or know that. So this is again, and also it's a matter of comfort. It's a matter of welcoming. If you bought a product, some people buy, let's say IKEA is not a good example, but let's say you buy a product from another country and you open the box and there's a brochure in Chinese or a brochure in Danish. Are you going to understand anything? They're assuming that, of course, you understand their language. They sent it to you because that's the brochure that they send out to their international clients. But obviously, this manufacturer didn't realize that they're sending to the United States where the native language is English, and they should have provided an English brochure. So it's the same kind of shock value. And again, it's welcoming. It's showing people that you care, showing people that you want to communicate with them in their language. And there are two issues that arise with that I'd like to dispel right away, or two fears that I'd like to dispel right away. One is people may say, well, I can put my website, let's say, into another language, but what if I get an inquiry from someone abroad, let's say from Croatia, and I don't speak a word of Croatian? Well, no problem. You simply send us the email, whatever it may be. We'll translate it very quickly from Croatian to English. You respond in English, you put it back into Croatian, and you send it off to your prospect, to your client. Very simple. There's another solution to that, which is, what if someone calls me and I can't speak to that person? So we have a solution for that. And that's called OPI, over-the-phone interpreting. And by the way, people mix up the terms all the time. Translating is to convert anything written into another language. Interpreting is to convert anything spoken into another language. So a phone call, a meeting, a conversation, a conference, a deposition, this is all interpreted. So if someone calls you, we have a service called OPI, over the phone interpreting, and you can be connected 24/7 within seconds, sometimes a minute, but usually within seconds, to a live interpreter, and then you have a three-way conversation. You, the interpreter, your prospect. The prospect speaks in his or her language to the interpreter back to you. And that way you can speak to your prospect, and whether it's a prospect, a supplier, a vendor, again, a client, an employee who doesn't speak English fluently, whatever the case may be, this is the way you can serve that person.
That's always been one of the things that, when you go into when you watch a meeting at the like the United Nations, that's one of the things that have always really intrigued me, how quickly people are able to take, and there's a speaker up there who's not speaking in short sentences. They're not saying, they're not saying just little blurbs and then waiting. But you see the other people holding that, or now they don't hold it. Now they've just got little earbuds in their ears. But they can understand everything that other individual is saying because they've got an interpreter.
Yeah.
Is the technology difficult for people to understand, or is it really pretty easy for people to understand?
Which technology?
The over the phone technology.
No, it's literally like making a phone call. It's literally, we give you a toll-free number which is dedicated to you or your company, your department, whatever you want. You dial the number, an operator gets on the line, you say the language that you want, you're connected within seconds or perhaps a minute. A minute if it's an obscure language, like Burmese, for example. You're connected very quickly with an interpreter, and then you simply speak, naturally, like on a phone call, and again, hopefully short sentences, and then the interpreter will interpret your words, and then your prospect will respond, and the interpreter puts it back into English.
Yeah, well, it's just like I said. I know it's amazing that there are people who can sit there, and I'm always fascinated by sign language, by people who can interpret that quickly, who can sit there and dictate someone else's English, how somebody can sit there and dictate someone else's words. That always amazes me because I am so slow at typing that, I would have to be telling the person, hey, wait a minute, wait, stop. Dog ran down, it would truly be that slow for me. But, Philip, I know there are other countries that have this issue, but when somebody goes to, like when somebody's trying to connect with somebody in Japan, there are so many different dialects in Japan, or so many different patterns in Japan. People may not be aware of that. How do you tell them? Do you know which one you're talking about? My son is in Japan, and he says he goes into certain prefectures. They have no idea, and he has no idea how to talk to them. And he is very fluent in Japanese.
Yeah. Let me back up for a moment, if you don't mind. So there are two kinds of interpreting. One is consecutive, which is what the OPI is. I speak, I'm quiet, I'm silent. The interpreter interprets. Your counterpart asks questions, is silent, the interpreter interprets. That's consecutive. What you see at the United Nations is called simultaneous, the same speed. Translators are like doctors, interpreters are like surgeons. A different level of not both education as well as qualifications, as well as skill. And the people at the United Nations and the European Union, for that matter, similar, are like the top of the profession. They're the chief surgeons who are able to interpret simultaneously from the official languages to other official languages. And by the way, not every language can be interpreted simultaneously. German and Japanese, for example, cannot be done accurately, let's say, because of the sentence structure. But they can be done consecutively. So that's one point. And by the way, interpreting can also be done by phone, by in person, certainly, and by Zoom, by virtually, as we're doing now. So you don't have to send an interpreter to a venue. You can arrange it like on screen like this. It's the cost is less because obviously there's no travel time involved, and there's the minimum starting value. In terms of your son and your question, first of all, Japanese has, I speak Japanese also, that was my major in college. So Japanese has one standard way of speaking, which is called effectively standard Japanese. And that's the language of broadcasting, it's the language of education, it's the language that anyone commonly would speak. It's spoken in Tokyo and elsewhere. But when you go to the rural areas, then people will have dialects. We don't have them as strongly in the U.S., but it's very much like Cajun English, perhaps, or Gullah, in the islands off of South Carolina. In this country, we don't have very strong spoken dialects where people literally can't understand each other. But it's much more common in Britain, which is a much smaller country, and certainly very common in China. And China has vast dialects, and literally people cannot understand each other. But they're united by the standard dialect, the standard dialect of the country. And if they can't speak it, which would be unusual, then they can always write it, and then that's the way to communicate, because people are educated to read the characters in both Japanese and Chinese. So interpreting would be for standard Japanese, and in Chinese it would be for the whatever dialect, Mandarin, Cantonese, Sichuanese, Shanghaiese, whatever.
Okay. I would say if you're trying to compare it to here in the U.S., I knew a couple individuals from Louisiana, and their the role of their tongue made speech very difficult to understand, and it was more of an urban they were black, they were a black family, and so they had like it really was a Creole kind of soul speak. It was very intriguing to listen to him. Plus, they speak so fast that it was hard to understand them, So, but I would say that was probably the one place, the one place in the United States that I've been that I really had to take. And yes, we all use our different words in different places, but Louisiana was the one. Southern Louisiana was the one place that I've met somebody that I had to tell him, "Whoa, slow down. We're not going anywhere." So, by the way, Ledoux, if you're listening, I love you, brother. I hope you're doing well. I haven't talked to you in over 20 years, so love you. But he was such a wonderful kid, and yeah, but there were times that, and I think he got a kick out of it, watching me really struggle with trying to understand what he was saying, so.
Well, there's a wonderful story that I like to relate.
Please.
A Quebec family went to Paris on vacation, and they supposedly both spoke French. The French customs officer, passport control, and the Quebecer. But the passport control officer absolutely could not understand the Quebec speaker at all, and basically put him back on the plane and sent him back to Canada. Because he said, I cannot, you can't come into my country, I can't understand the word you're saying, that we can't communicate, that's it. So it happens more in Quebec, where, first of all, Canadian French, Montreal French is pronounced differently, shall we say, than European French. And the metropolitan French in Europe don't like it, don't understand it well. And up country, up province, northern Quebec, is basically incomprehensible to a lot of even Montrealers and other people as well. So it happens more there than it does in this country.
little funny story. I watch a lot of hockey, Philip. Hockey is my life. I love watching, listening about hockey. Today is like Christmas Junior for me because it's draft day in hockey. So, I'm already geeked out. I'm wearing my Devils shirt for Red Friday. I'm ready to go, raring up, ready. And I remember calling into one of the hockey shows that I used to listen to all the time, and he was French Canadian, and he could speak English, but that French Canadian was in his voice. You could hear it all the time, and he would every once in a while he would speak in the French Canadian tone, and I commented on, back in the show. I sent a text to him and I said, how come is it that every time, you guys start speaking in French Canadian, it sounds like somebody's trying to clear their throat, So they found the humor in that I wasn't trying to insult them. They found the humor in it. And when they came back on, the guy only spoke in the French Canadian, the ones where they really dragged the throat more. He just was saying words that made that sound just to kind of, zing me back. And that was one of the funniest things that I have ever, experienced. But that guy, he came back on and he wanted me to pay for what I said.
That's funny.
Plus, he's a Canadiens fan, and I'm a Devils fan, so it's not like they get along very well. But are there any languages that you guys are working on, but maybe have a little bit of problem with?
Not really. There sometimes are. I think we've been stumped once in 35 years, and I can't remember what it was. Oh yes. Sometimes the Mayan dialects, they're not. I don't want to be disparaging and say they're not languages, but the Mayan dialects in Mexico and Guatemala, they're really spoken languages, and there's no standard way of doing it. So they can differ from village to village and so forth. So those are, we simply don't handle them because, again, we get requests extremely rarely, but there are no real professionals who do them. So, I don't want to say we've been stumped, but if we really search high and low and the client were willing to pay the price for it, we could find someone who could do it. But this was a very quick government contract, and they don't want to pay a lot. So it wasn't.
Well, this is for my education inquiry, but didn't the Mayan language pretty much die out, and it was reborn, but they were never particularly sure that this is exactly how, the words that they spoke, because there was no written, it's kind of like ancient Egyptian. Yeah. Nobody knows what ancient Egyptian was because, all we have are hieroglyphs. We don't know exactly, we're pretty talented at reading the hieroglyphs, but we're not positive, 100% sure if we're using the exact same words that they used.
Right. So I don't know the history of Mayan languages, so I can't speak to that. But I do know Mayan languages and in Vietnamese, well, they're standard Vietnamese, but there are a lot of countries where there are, let's say, village dialects or rural dialects from that simple region, that region, and it may be spoken by, 5,000, 10,000, 25,000 people, but these are not common languages, and they may not. They're probably written now, but traditionally, as you say, they were spoken languages, and not necessarily grammar patterns or dictionaries, that sort of thing. The original people who created dictionaries were probably missionaries, and I can guarantee you that they got a lot of it wrong.
Yeah.
Because they're seeing it through the Christianity lens, and that's absolutely does not compute in most cultures. So, I can tell you for sure, for example, in Japanese, there's no word for God the way we would understand it in the Western world. There's just no concept like that. So anyway, a lot of these languages were originally spoken, not written. They were written, after perhaps 1,000 years later, and there's no standard way of saying, writing, or doing it. So these are languages we don't really do, but also there's hardly any request for. Now, we are getting involved in a project, interestingly, in Uganda. Sorry to interrupt you. And we will be translating vocational courses like about automotive and hospitality and tailoring and plumbing and so forth into 5 indigenous languages of Uganda, 5 of the 8 major indigenous languages of Uganda. And again, these are written languages, but they're not certified languages, which means that there's no test in them. And even when we do it, there can be disagreement. Well, my village says it this way, my village says it that way. But, and it's not that it's wrong, it's just different. So you say lawyer, I say attorney, I say fall, you say auto. It's not wrong, it's just different.
There are certain parts of the English language that do not translate into other languages.
Oh, there are a lot of words in English that don't translate properly, and other languages have words that don't translate into English.
And
so, yeah.
A lot of our idioms they don't make any sense in any other language.
Well, all idioms are contextual, which means that they're, relevant to that culture. And if you don't have that culture, then it may not make any sense. Just as, we would say the Eskimos or the Inuit have like 20 words for snow, where we may have 3, slush, snow, and I don't know, something else. Can't think of it. Flurries, whatever. But they're different degrees. So people have idioms and expressions and words depending on their local climate and their culture. So so if I say, for example, the expression, you're really batting 1,000 today. Well, that's from baseball. Cultures that don't understand baseball have zero clue what that means. So the job of the translator or the interpreter is to convey it properly, which means, oh, you're being really successful today, or you're doing extremely well today.
There are cultures even with baseball. Japan probably wouldn't understand that, and they have wonderful baseball teams, so like I said, it is kind of funny that I try to say something and my son will try to translate it sometimes to his kindergarten class, because he teaches English to kindergartners. And I'll try to say something, and just be like, I'll say hi for, and because he always talks about me as like Godzilla, because I'm a larger individual, and he'll take and introduce his kids to me on my birthday. Every Christmas Eve, we'll get a video chat of myself and the kids. Most beautiful thing in the world, it truly is. But he'll introduce me as like the Fat Man or Godzilla or something like that, and it is just such a cool thing. And then I'll try to say something back to him, and my son will look at me like, Dad, I can't say that, And it's not that I'm saying anything wrong. I'm just saying things that don't exist, in that language. So it is. It's.
Well, you give me an example. I don't know.
I really can't come up with one on the spot, so bad timing on my part, but it'll just be something funny. And my son's the one who taught me that you can't write like you read. Or I'm sorry, you can't write like you speak, because people don't understand like the jokes that you write. If you're making fun of yourself or something like that, which I have a habit of doing, people read that differently. And so I'll try to say something in that way, and it'll be that if I say that, it's going to come across very bad for you. So,
and some cultures don't do sarcasm at all.
Right.
So if an American or an English speaker says something sarcastically, the foreigner can take it literally, and it may or may not make sense. And in Asian cultures, well, East Asian cultures, Japan, China, Taiwan, Korea, you self-deprecate. You lower yourself. So, for example, no Japanese, I don't think, would say, "My father is a fat man," because it's insulting, right? So, but you would say, and if I give you a compliment, "Oh, that's a really nice red shirt," your response in Japanese would be, "Oh, no, it's really not so nice. It's it's old, or I've had it for a long time, and I'm sorry, it's not very pretty," or something like that. You lower the praise, whether it's about yourself or something that you're wearing, something that you're doing, one of your qualities. If I say that your son is really talented, your response in Japanese is, "Oh, not really. He's been sort of slow, or my daughter may be a little better than he is, but thank you, but it's not really so true." So again, it's just responses that we can say the words, but it doesn't communicate in the same way in English, and then people would take it literally and think that you really mean it. Well, no. I shouldn't say this, but I'll say it anyway. When the Hebrew Bible was written, it was not meant to be literal, and a lot of Christians took it literally. And the Hebrew was written as metaphors. So, for example, if I say to you in English, "It's raining cats and dogs," it does not mean that cats and dogs are falling from the sky.
Yeah.
But there are metaphors in the Hebrew which are to indicate God's power, whatever you want to say, and the original church people started taking them literally because there were no Hebrew speakers anymore to tell them that was wrong. So in the same way, so I personally have issues with people who say the Bible, take the Bible as the literal word of God. Well, no, it isn't, because it's been very badly mistranslated, among other things, and that was not the original intention. So that's a separate issue, very controversial, I'm sure, but that's...
Well, it's a wonderful place on my show to say something like that, because I have my own issues with stuff like that. But, look, there's changes everywhere, and we, there's certain things that can be proven and certain things that are, they are what they are. But if you see on the bottom of the screen, you can see the communitypayitforward.us profiles, and that will take you to Philip and Arbach International's page. They are now a Community Pay It Forward giving partner, which means every time you hire them, they will donate a portion back to us, which will go to a cause you choose, and you can make a donation simply by reaching out and connecting to other cultures. And if you're not reaching out to other cultures, you're missing out on so much. One, money. We'll just say the important thing right now, you're missing out on a bunch of money. But the truth is, you're also missing out on the experience. You're also missing out on the engagement and everything else that can come from connecting with other cultures. So please make sure that you call on Philip and his team, because they have put together a program. And Philip, you guys work with you've already mentioned Google. Google's not the only Fortune 500 you guys work with.
Oh no, we've been, over our 35 years, we've served Fortune 100 companies down to billion-dollar companies in niches you've never heard of, like dentistry, for example. We've served a the largest dental supply firm in the world called Dentsply. We've served and solopreneurs, as well as many nonprofits, as well as government agencies at all levels, federal, state, and local. Um, and but on the small companies you might have heard of include Microsoft and Apple and Google and Twitter, which is now X, and Marriott and Hershey's and Colgate and Cadbury and Coca-Cola, a few small companies like that you might have heard of.
You said that you've translated for that dental supply company, and all I could think of is that is trying to translate, the sound of somebody with with something in their mouth. That Do you feel anything? Yeah, I feel you putting a hole through the roof of my mouth. Thank you.
You translate for the products that the dentists have in their offices.
Right. So, hey, you know what? I think that if you guys would be able to translate through the gurgling sound, I think you guys would be pretty, even cooler. That would be something great. But this is, I'm sorry, this over here is a view of his Phil's landing page. It does have all of his contact information right here, including 2 different phone numbers, one on the East Coast, one on the West Coast. So please reach out. You've got his email address, and you can reach out to him anytime by coming to this page. One other thing that you could do is say, hey, Zach, I heard your interview with Phil. I would love an introduction, and I'll zip out an introduction to you and this wonderful man in real quickly, and get you guys in touch with each other, because that just means that we get to continue our goal on helping everyone. The QR code above Philip's head, that will take you directly to his page. So you don't have to type in anything, just scan that QR code and it'll take you directly to his page. So, Philip, thank you very much for joining me. Before I let you go, would you have anything else that you would like to tell people?
Oh, wow. Well, again, we convert anything you've got into over 120 languages, plus their dialects. So Spanish has, 10 or more dialects. We do all of those. Portuguese, there's European Portuguese and Brazilian Portuguese and so forth. So that's not included in the languages, in the numbers that I gave you. But we do websites, brochures, manuals, contracts, videos, conversations of all kinds, meetings, international conferences, phone calls, as I've mentioned. Anything you've got, videos, anything you've got in any other language that you want to put into another language or from another language, we can do it with professional standards, which is guaranteed accuracy. And please do not rely on AI only to do any kind of translating or interpreting unless you want to risk errors. It's very good. There's no question that it's accurate, that it can be accurate, that it can be good. But if you need precision and if you need guaranteed accuracy, as you do for anything client-facing, for anything medical, legal, business, scientific, government, anything like that, then it must be done with professionals. And it must be done professionally, and that's with the methods that we use, which is linguists with master's degrees in the art of translating or interpreting, 10 years of ongoing experience, which means they're not part-time professors. People translate into their native language only, so they know expressions and nuances. And most importantly, we match the linguist with your subject speciality. So the people who do chemistry don't do wine, don't do software, don't do law, because each one has its own terminology. And this is the way to make it accurate.
That's, again, I think it's beautiful. One last language. What is the most unique language you have ever, that you've ever translated something into?
We had a request in probably year 2 of our 35 years for a language called Inuktitut. Can you guess where that is?
I'm gonna say Africa, maybe.
It sounds African. It's actually Inuktitut, I think. It's actually what we would call an Inuit or an Eskimo language.
Eskimo, yeah. When you said it the second time, I got it a little bit better.
And then another one called Rораnkure, which is a language of Uganda. And we provided interpreters for that language, actually, for the U.S. Department of Labor.
Wow. That's, as a guy who screws up English, and that's the only language I know, you're my hero. That's just all there is to it, because what you do is amazing. And I welcome you to the family, Philip. I'm so glad that you decided to join us in our mission to help everyone. And I beg of you, if you are in business, if you're starting a new business, remember, we are not just a mom and pop shop anymore. We are worldwide. So make sure world can speak to you. Call Philip. Talk to Philip.
And if you are in another country, if I could add, we don't just do it from English. We do other combinations. Portuguese to Chinese, for example. So if you're in another country and you need to speak to people around the world, like Czech to Japanese, we can do that as well.
And now, as soon as I can teach you how to speak Zackies, we'd be okay. So I definitely need a translator sometimes. You should see the way my wife looks at me when I talk. So, but we've been talking to our brand new giving partner, Philip Arbach from Arbach International. Phil, welcome to the family. Thank you very much for being part of Community Pay It Forward. Last two for you. What can we do to help you today?
Oh, thank you. Well, basically, again, if anyone has any needs or knows of people, whether your neighbors, friends, cousins, whatever, all referrals are welcome. And if it's over a certain amount, we'd be delighted to give a referral fee as well.
And then the last question is, what can you do to help someone who's struggling today?
Well, it depends on what the person needs, but of course, anything to do with languages, we can help with that. And they're certainly contributing to the wonderful causes that you have. Maybe that's how it all goes around.
That's beautiful. Philip, thank you so much for joining us. Please, if you ever have any events or anything that are coming up, or if you know a nonprofit that's having something that they would like to get out there, please make sure that you join us again on the Pact Podcasting Networks. So thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Warning, the brown cloud is approaching. Some will try to outrun it. Others may not be so lucky. But don't worry, it's all part of the fun at the Chili Cook-Off for books and board games. Where the chili is hot, the flavors are bold, and Bear E has your back with the official Brown Cloud Preparedness Kit. Follow the plan, know your exits, and whatever you do, hold your breath, because this temporary pain is all for a great cause. Join us, laugh with us. Survive the brown cloud together at Key Largo Lounge in Greeley.
Join us November 8th at 11 a.m. for the 10th annual Chili Cook-Off for books and board games at our home field, Key Largo Lounge, where our small market team is making a huge statement. Scan the code for tickets and sponsorship information.
Bring me home, out alone, show me the way. You wanna hold the heart of Sunset Boulevard. Bring me here, 'cause it's not quite clear to be a part of Sunset Boulevard.